Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the West Tisbury Library. We're so pleased to have our special guest, Constance Messmer, here today, and she'll be giving a lecture series here each month throughout the winter and spring. Constance is a transformational speaker. Her work focuses on psycho-spiritual development and empowerment. Today's Constance will be discussing telepathic communication.
Thank you, Olivia. I just want to thank everyone for coming out this afternoon, and I want to especially thank Olivia and all those involved in the West Tisbury Library. I'm so incredibly grateful. I love this venue. I've spoken here several times in the past and hope to, and will definitely in the future. As Olivia said, I have a little card that has information on how you can sign up for my, experience my podcast and my YouTube, where I teach everything I know. So you might see me sniffing or holding White Mountain Sage. It's a beautiful cleansing and grounding agent for people that do kind of work with spirit or whatnot. And mostly I'm using it to ground because I have been having an interesting chat with spirit. I really want to read prepared notes. Now you would think, why is she going to read if she's this transformational speaker? And I want to read because it keeps me grounded in the experience, because just the second that I go out to look around you guys, you have some people on the other side or people that are around you that are making me giggle. And I'm trying to focus in on what I want to say before I get to all of that. And so if you don't mind indulging me, I am going to read some prepared thoughts. So, again, just let me know if you want me to use the mic. The gathering's going to be in parts. The first part is where I'm, like I said, ask you to indulge the scientist in me. And I read prepared papers. And I'm asking that of spirit also. Indulge me, please. I read, like I said, to stay grounded in the present, in the experience of what I want to say. Otherwise, I would really kick into what I do in my day-to-day life and for a living as work. The second part of the experience this afternoon is going to be examples of my findings while I lean into Spirit's guidance and hopefully get messages for some of you. And then finally, or maybe all the while, interaction with audience participation. And so it begins. I have to tell you, when I'm doing this stuff, I work with guides and angels and God, and they make me laugh all the time. So if you see me cracking up and doing that, it's because I'm tuning in. When I do stop and decide to, I'm sure there's going to be messages. There just are. But I'm not going to walk up to you, because sometimes what I get is private information, or not private, personal information. Is pretty public after this. Personal information, and I won't say names. But I might say, I'm over in this direction or whatever. This might resonate with you, blah, blah, blah. We'll go with that. When my niece and my nephews were young, I'd send them letters written in code. I'd include the key so that they could decipher the meaning. Even though the communication took some effort, it was rewarding and quite fun. When I was young, I loved mysteries and visiting extended family. And while with them, listening in on family conversations. And I do mean listening in. While my mother and her father or extended family were in conversation, I'd pay attention more to what the people weren't saying than what they said aloud. I'd listen in at some point just beyond and behind the words that they were speaking. It just was what I did. Without telling a soul, from a very young age, I'd notice body postures and these emotional and physical sensations that I would feel coming off of others when they spoke. And when they were seemingly silent, alone in their thoughts, I'd often ask, I wonder what they're thinking. And with that intention of a question, I would sometimes, and quite often, hear and know what they were thinking. As a child, I was taught to pray and believe in God and my guardian angel. It was molded to me to turn to those in heaven for assistance. Speaking to the unseen, but often felt, was the foundation of my young world, and it carried me through life. I went to college and ended up in the field of journalism. I loved broadcast and magazine writing. I learned about sensationalism, sources of information, and studied investigative reporting. I would listen intently, almost supernaturally, working to comprehend what my subject was saying and where they were leading me, even before they spoke it out loud. I would ask follow-up questions, letting their story unfold to completion, and my professor would often use my work as examples of interview techniques. I noticed that people didn't always mean what they said or say what they meant. It was fascinating to me the ins and outs of communication and conversation, what occurred for me and for them internally, and what was actually spoken aloud. It was inevitable that I would be especially interested in the various ways we experience communication. You're doing very good giving me time for this. Without telling one what I was up to, I began to study what I was experiencing as soul-level communication. Similar to a foreign language and somewhat like those letters that I had written my niece and nephews, I had to decipher the code. The experience of the language was the subtle, yet usable, and it ran as an undercurrent parallel to all my exchanges and physical experiences. I realized that if I could just master this language, then I would be onto something greater than the physical language that I had learned as a child. Because this language of the soul, could link me to life, all life, near and far. Now for the definitions. Telepathic communication is distant communication of thoughts or ideas by means other than the known senses. It comes from the Greek word meaning tele, or the Greek word tele meaning far off or at a distance. And pathic comes from the Greek word pathy, meaning feelings and sufferings. Inner psychic rapport is a relatively new term from Jungian psychology. Inter meaning between, among, together. Psychic is from the word psyche, meaning soul. Rapport is close, harmonious relationship where groups or individuals understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate them well. So interpsychic rapport is soul communication between yourself and another. It was in my paying attention to the ins and outs of sensorial experiences to clear communication that I discovered my calling. Teach what I know and get people talking. I believe we all use telepathic communication every single day. Not only in our prayer time, if we're prayerful people, but in unspoken words to our mates, our children, our family, our friends, our co-workers, our associates, and more. If you've listened to my podcast, Soul Awareness with Constance Messmer, or have subscribed to my YouTube channel, Constance Messmer, or taken workshops from me, then you're probably familiar with the ways of soul-level communication. In those spaces, I teach the various ways of how we can give and receive this level of communication, and I offer practice techniques. To become fluent in this foreign language, you have to practice it. You have to use it, you have to get comfortable with it, so that there's no misunderstanding. But I do want to tell you my big secret. I became proficient at telepathic communication and all this psychic work because I practiced it. I used it every day. I practiced it and I practiced it at every opportunity. I was paying deeper attention than what was happening on the surface and in the physical. And once I noticed soul-level communication as a means of communication and recognized it as part of our human experience, I used it. I used it all over the place, well before I opened my practice and hung out a shingle. I used it with animal communication when I was 4 or 5 and would talk to the dog and then hear the dog back.
Sorry for interrupting myself, but I just want to tell you about the book I wrote. It's called Some Dogs Talk, and it teaches animal communication among the pages of fiction. I think you're going to like it, and if you want a copy for yourself to learn how I do all that I do, click on the link below. Now, back to the show.
And when I had children, I used it to source their stuck points when they had no words to tell me what they were going through. I used it with my husband early on in our marriage, and I still do, to meet me in compassionate spaces of knowing and understanding. I often use it with my family, near and far, to help them and help me, my extended family. And definitely in my professional work, I've used it to connect to souls, to spirits, to guides and angels. And I also use it, wait for it, to do my part to help raise consciousness in my community, government, and in my world. When I was open to one-on-one sessions in my work with individuals, I used it to help them source solutions to challenges they faced in their lives. And I still teach them how to do the same through the podcast and the YouTube channel. And although, and I use it throughout my entire day, actually. I mean, I really do. My mom's been visiting this week, and she's like, I said, Mom, I'll talk out loud so you can know what I do when I'm walking, and I just seem like I'm going to do the dishes or I'm doing the dishes. This is what the conversations that I'm having. I use it throughout my day, my entire day, to commune with God and nature. When I'm out in nature, I am constantly talking. It's these conversations, right? I use soul-level communication, telepathic communication, interpsychic rapport, whatever you want to call it, every single day. And I use it to live my life's potential. With it, I've helped myself and countless others, especially when I give messages from spirit world or read soul-level information. And right now, my heart is getting incredibly warm. And I'm asking, what is this about? And it's totally coming in as a thank you from spirit world for the people that I've communicated their message to their loved ones while here. So I'm giving back the thank you. I've used this in my practice and I've used it in my life, but I do not think it is a gift. But I do think it's a skill. I think it's a skill and a language that anyone can learn. Like those coded letters, you may have to work and decipher the nuances of your exchanges. But the only gift that I have is to offer this all to you. Thank you for indulging me. To fill in some gaps on that, I was also the kid at a very young age that would lie in bed and feel energy running through my body. My dad would often watch really weird TV things that, I don't know, maybe not so weird. I remember once watching a show on yoginis who would slow their heart rate down, and meditators that would slow their breath and do various things. And so I would go to sleep at night doing the same. So it was just, I had a very vivid internal world. But I think we all do, yeah? So, what I want to know, because I believe we all do this, is how it works with you in ways that you can strengthen your ability. So, what I'm going to do at this point is, just don't let me lose track of what the focus is, because now I'm going to just start going in. So, when I say that I think, you can come in. Okay, no, you don't have to. When I say that I think we can all do this, I think it's mostly recognizing when we're doing it so that we can know, this is soul level communication. This is me actually actively engaging the nuances of the mind and the visionary experience, but using that in my words, in a psychic setting so that I can make a link to a soul, and it's done with intention. I think that when we, I'm not the only one that thinks this, I think many of you think this too, that, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it only changes form, or whatever the saying is. I should never do quotes that I don't know. But point being is, life is eternal. And when we leave the earth plane, our soul still is present.
And people have asked me in my work as a medium, how long can it be? Can you always get in touch with loved ones that have crossed? And I said, yes, I can. Yes, I can. But it's really up to them. But also you can too. And they're more desperate to get talking to you on a regular basis than they want you to come pay my fees to come see me. I charge because I have to pay rent. So I'm right now, my pauses, my very pregnant pauses are, I'm asking both my team of helpers that I work with, where do you want me to go with this? And I'm also asking your loved ones if they want to give examples. So I'm hearing an example, and do you know, this is sometimes, I'm like, I think it's from over here, and they're like, no, it's over there, but I'm getting over here. And so sometimes the best thing that they do sometimes is they can waft a smell of like cookies or a recipe that they've made, or you're inspired to make a recipe, and you're thinking, I'm thinking this up. Well, maybe it's around the holidays, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna make this specific recipe with this tantalizing ingredients, and you think you're making that decision, but spirit, your loved one, is saying, no, I airdrop that in on your thought process. So what Constance invites you to do is, in those moments when you get thoughts out of nowhere, especially, you know, mom's favorite recipe, or a certain cookie a certain way, if you get the smell, is take a moment to say, who's bringing this to me, or who's around, or are you around? And if you definitely know who it is, then ask, you know, Mom, is that you? You're gonna get this sense experience of a yes, yes, yes. Your heart might get, you know, a wash of love. You might get this sense, a physical sensation of goosebumps or warmth, or this flooded presence in your being of like, this feels like yes, or it feels like right. If it's not who you think it is, you won't get those feelings, you know. But if I were to, my mom happens to be here, so if I were to go having a rough day and I were to go, Mom, I could really use your help now, do you think she would turn away? She wouldn't turn away. Your father, your sister, your brother, your child, whew, okay, that's hitting me hard, would not turn away. They're going to, your mate, they're going to be there as quick as you're asking, or as much as you're missing them. The second that you're missing them and you're really having an experience of missing them, I always tell students and people to close your eyes, take a minute, just stop. Focus in on them. Imagine them standing before you. Let it become animated. And see what happens. Let them be funny. Let yourself cry. Let yourself have the experience. It's leaning into those moments, especially when, you know, people would come to me specifically for mediumship if there was a passing, and it didn't matter how long or whatever. And sometimes they'd come for answers to riddles of, you know, where'd they put this, or where'd they put that, or you know, how were they in the last days of, I wasn't able to get there, could they ever forgive me? And they're like, you know, I didn't want you there. That's why I wanted to go without you being there. I didn't want you to put you through that. And then they said, because this is a real person, saying, you know, I'm always hiding things from you. This is another way. And so when I invite you to honor, trust, believe those subtle impressions that are happening in your day-to-day life, and those fleeting moments of thinking of your loved one and wishing they were closer, the second you do that, it's like a freaking invite. I don't want to say call. It's an invite for them to be fully present, fully there right now. And what I do with my work, with my people, is when they come for, you know, I've had people come and want to get in touch with, you know, husband and dad or whatever, I'll say I don't promise anything, because I never know if they're going to show up, but they always show up. And I invite them in, and then I lean into the experience. What does that mean? It means I turn my attention fully to them. And so how would I invite you to do that is, if you're missing a loved one, a spouse, a friend, whatever, the child, is to take sacred time. And by sacred time, I just mean time set apart that is, you know, kind of connected, and where you'll have no outside influences, where you can just take a moment to just imagine them being there. And this imaginal realm is an organ of psychic perception. The visionary experience is the same parallel that we have imagination or meditation or dream time or memory. It's in that same space that those visionary experiences can occur. A lot of times people have dreams of their loved ones that have passed, and it's a visitation because it's more of a message in the dream. But sometimes the dream is that the family member's just in the dream. And sometimes if you have that kind of a thing, because I feel like someone in the room had that experience where my mom was in the dream, but she didn't say anything to me. Was that a visitation or just me dreaming of her? And part of me is like, is it okay if it's both? But it's also giving yourself permission after the dream to not ask Constance, to ask your mom, Mom, was that you last night? You see me doing this often? This is connecting. This is one of my, I think we're kind of, my body's a radar dish. So I'm like, okay, tuning in. Was that you? Of course it was me. You trust the first thing that comes back. Often it's in your own thoughts, and it could be in your own voice. Sometimes it's their voice, but you put the intention out there, was that you? It's the first thing that comes back. And once you work with this daily and have this connection happening daily, you can take it everywhere. I mean, my dad's on the other side, and I talk to him all the time. My mom and I say this, and may the souls of the dearly departed be blessed with peace, or something along these lines. I can't remember right now. It doesn't matter. And Dad's like, he laughs because he's like, I don't get any peace. She talks to me all the time. Because I do. He's in a greater space to give me advice, but I would often go to him for various reasons. And so, I kind of drag him throughout my day. I turn to him often, and he makes me laugh, and he makes me cry, and sometimes there's a random thought out of nowhere, and I'm like, who said that? Because I don't always see him there, but I hear him or I feel him. And what is feeling like? When you were little, I'm going to say it like this, but I'm not going to go up to the person. When you were little, you used to feel tingling on one side of your body. And what I would invite you to do is, now that you're in a space that you could do this, I think you knew darn well what it was, but I think you can step out of that space and bring that memory up and say, who was that? A who? And if so, who was that? I think that a lot of times when spirit shows up, we can go to their world where we're talking at a distance, or they can come close to us in ours. The whole thing about the cookies and the things that Mom used to bake or Grandma used to bake. This is beautiful when they give us the sense of smell. In my podcast and my teaching and the YouTube channel, I give you all the, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairolfactory, all these different clairgustance, all these different words so that you can differentiate soul communication from physical communication. But you can certainly just say, did you smell it? And is there any physical, tangible experience in your room or in your space that would have been having you smell that wafting cookies, or was it clearly coming from the other side to you? And you're not supposed to stop there. You're supposed to lean into it, turn your attention and go, I smell something that is reminding me of, my grandmother or my father or whomever, my mate. And aftershave, and the aftershave, my God, you always smell the aftershave. Hello. And there's a punctuation. Did y'all hear the phone ring? There's or the alarm. No, it's fine. That spirit does that all the time. It's for good reason. They're like, we're going to highlight this point. I think it's been happening to us all week, where of course the alarm went off, or of course the dog barked right in that moment. Pay attention. So it's that sense of the aftershave, and sometimes when we hold our loved ones' items, and we can remember them in this place, they're remembering us too. So what I'm saying is, take it the next step. Talk to them. If I can do it, you can do it. We can all do it. It's our evolutionary journey. It's who we are fully alive. I feel like we're living half lives by only being physical when we're body and soul, and we can communicate on both levels. It's paying attention, noticing, like I was that nerdy kid, paying attention to the subtle sensations. I want you to be nerdy with me. I want you to do it too, and then talk about it. Talk about your experiences.
to your friends. Have you ever done this? Have you ever had this happen? See, talk about it to your friends. Like totally good. Someone's having fun. So let me do a pause there in regards to, would you be so bold to indulge me in a show of hands of who believes wholeheartedly or maybe even tiny that they've had connection with some loved one on the other side? Specifically right now, yeah, my people. My people. And I think that it can, well, I don't think. I know it can happen in different forms. You can, they can help you in life where you're going to make a decision. Look at bump. They can help you in life. They can help you in life when you're going to make a decision, and you keep not listening. And they keep it's this badgering thought in your head that's like, oh, I really should. And they're like, you've been asking for my help, and I'm trying to tell you, if you would just pick up the paper and read the articles in the paper, your answer's going to be right there or something. I mean, it seems so random, but they leave us these breadcrumbs. And when I come across, and I've asked my dad for my help in particular, and something shows up and I go, who helped with that, or who did that? Give credit where credit is due. Sometimes Dad says that was me, and other times he's like, higher up, go higher. So, but what I'm saying is engage in the conversation. That's what I did. People are like, how did you know? Did you always know? I don't know the answer to that. It was just what I did, right? But I do know that I started noticing it more and more, and I worked with it more and more. And when I started seeing clients, I just had a podcast episode that came live today. When I started seeing clients, I really had a huge choice to make. Do I either tell them the stories that their body was telling me and their energetic imprints and their loved ones that were coming in? Should I tell them about all this, or do I just write it out and keep my mouth shut? I'm inviting you to not keep your mouth shut. When you have these experiences, share them with your friends, share them with each other, so that we can take and kind of bring soul level communication to where it should be, a viable part of the world. Does anyone want to ask about specific troubleshooting specific areas when they did have connection with loved ones that have crossed?
What do you mean by troubleshooting?
So sometimes people will come to me and they'll say, I wish I could. I see them, but I don't hear them, and I can't hear them. And I'm like, why can't I hear them? Or I feel like I'm blocked. And what I usually say with that is I say, tell them to speak up. Say, I can't hear you. You got to talk louder. And you can ask, why can't I hear you? What is happening? And then sometimes the first answer that comes back is always the answer, right? After that, the mind loves to embellish, but the heart knows the truth. And the first answer that comes back when we ask, why can't I hear you, sometimes is because you don't believe it. You shut it down as soon as it happens. You discredit it. It's scary to you, or you think I'm going to be like I was, and I'm different now. Let me tell you something about the loved ones that have crossed. This is so cute. There is a Christmas decoration right over your head. It's the only one in the room, and I'm just going, that's kind of cool, right over there. Just like, that's random.
Sorry for the interruption, but I just wanted you to know that the lady that was sitting under the Christmas ornament came up to me after the talk, and I said to her, you were the one sitting under the Christmas ornament, and I think it's a message from a loved one on the other side. Do you understand? Because I don't always want to tell people what I see. I want them to get the message themselves. That's what I'm teaching. And she said, yes, I think it was my mother. It was from my mother. And we were both getting goosebumps in the moment, as I am now, because it was from her mother, and the conversation ensued. But I just want you to know that this is what happens. Oftentimes Spirit uses day-to-day experiences to get messages through to us that they're there. And I just needed to share that with you. So back to the talk. Where was I?
Open yourself to listen.
Talk louder, open yourself up to listen, trust that you're getting the connection. So troubleshooting is when, sometimes when people doubt the experience. Fear, disbelief, and overeagerness will be major stops to all of this stuff happening. If you're afraid of the connection, I know where we were going. If you're, you're afraid of the experience, not the being that shows up. Hopefully you're just wanting to get in touch with who you know or whatever initially in this phase. further studies at the YouTube channel. But fear, disbelief, like, oh no, it can't be. It's like hanging up the phone call or turning away, from my dad. And overeagerness is I really am going to go in with the expectations of this specific answer, and then you're like, I think I'm making this up. And you can ask, am I making this up, or did you just say that? I would work. Remember, I was the investigative reporter, so I would be like, did you say that? Could you speak up? What'd you say? Can I get that on a recording? Can I write that down? Same. Didn't matter if they were on this side or that side. So, with your father, I'm tapping into somebody. With your father, he wants to come through, but you think it's bullshit because you don't think that he's capable of growth. And he is capable of growth, and he owes you a lot, and so he wants to be there and resourceful to you as a resource in more ways than he ever was when you were a child. And you never really thought that you could, be what you can never measure up. And he said, now I've measured up. I'm the one that needed measuring up. He's saying. So he's saying, he's reminding me to tell the group, thank you, that when they get to the other side, they go through soul review, they do have opportunity for growth. And in my experience, because I've just done this so long, you can still hold on to your belief, doesn't bother me. We've done multiple lifetimes, and so they get this compilation of all their lives, and they are wise. Now, are they as wise as angels? No, they're not angels. I hate to tell you. Angels have not walked the earth. They can take human form just to kind of, for the benefit of communication. But from my experience in all my studies, our loved ones are not angels, even though they wish they were. Sorry, Dad. They're just where they're at. Look at this tangent I'm going off on. So that's what I mean by troubleshooting, is when you're really knowing that you're having a connection to a loved one and you feel like they're around. Sometimes some of my clients would come back because I would teach them how to get in touch with their mother or whatever, and they'd say, is it okay that we just talk all day long? And I'm like, of course it's okay. Like, at a distance, my mom is alive, and I still talk to her in my head. And then she'll call, and right, telepathic communication, right, to the living, not just those on the other side. And I'll say, of course, I've been thinking about you. And she was like, well, I was going to call 2 days ago. And I was like, that's when I wanted you to call. And so sometimes I play games with my family and they don't even know. So I feel like I want to kind of go on to family members, friends. Or should I do the workplace? No, I'm going to go family members, friends. So this is another thing. And you can use it on anyone. You could use it on people in the workplace too. When you're having a really tough time on the outside, talking with your outside voice, as opposed to your inside voices, when you're having a hard time in connection with someone and you're having issue and you just don't feel like they're understanding what you're trying to say to them, I invite you to take the time to find a quiet space to sit, imagine them standing before you, and have the whole conversation almost imagining them standing there, receiving the information. This often, I'm going to say these words, it sounds horrible, cushions the blow, or makes it so that they can handle what it is you want to bring forward when you bring it with an outside voice live conversation. I do this with my husband all the time. Don't tell him. I am constantly going, all right, honey, listen, this is not when he's standing before me. I'm like usually walking or driving. Going, I need to talk to you about something, and it's going to rub you the wrong way, but you're going to eventually get that we need to go kind of on board. You need to be on board with this. And so I'll have the whole conversation, and it's really fascinating. I might, because he usually accepts it as softer, but it's interesting when I bring something up to him and he's against it, and then I do the talking on the inside thing. And then he comes back and he says, I've given it more thought, and let's go in that direction. It really is a beautiful thing when you see that happen real time. And and sometimes it is because he's been noodling it, but I'm also running psychic interference. And so I'm giving him more kind of ways of looking at it. This is something we can do with telepathic communication, which is probably why it comes with a great amount of responsibility when you start entering into this world. When the kids were little, I'm going to bring up this this story. I think I've shared it before. When the kids were little and I was teaching them telepathic communication, and some people, I don't want to use the word mind control, but it's not, it's suggestive thought. We would, and some of my kids are here now, and I wonder if you remember this. They had a bunch of play friends over. I have 3 kids. They all had playmates over, and I was like, hey, let's play the psychic game. And we sent one of the kids outside of the kitchen. We said, okay, now let's think about what we want her to do, and we're going to connect our mind to her mind. And so we all decided what we wanted her to do when she came back in. And we called her from way far away. There's no way she could have heard this. I said to the kids, just remember the sequence of events. You can picture it. You can tell her you're making a connection to her mind with your mind. All intrapsychic rapport, people. Because it doesn't matter how the communication occurs. Whether it's a visual, an auditory, whether it's sight, see, hear, smell, taste, whatever. In comes the friend. She stood there. She moved the napkin like we were intending her to. She took a sip of her hot chocolate, put it in the spot where we intended her to do, and said, I don't know what you want me to do, like we intended her to do. And the kids were like, whoa. And then I think they went on playing. And I'm like, no, wasn't that cool? Like, that's really cool. You know? We used to play some games. And I think that the important part of that story is mind work like this matters. You can be a great influence, which is what I want you to be on the planet. And I use that when I'm working with my take on how politics or the environmental standards should go. I'm a big environmentalist, and I'm like, can we just all wake up on what we need to do for the environment? So I set that intention out. So you can use telepathic communication in these ways when you start to realize that we are soul beings first, and we come to have the human experience in the physical body, but we have all these latent superpowers that we could use more and work with more, and it's pretty fantastic. I'm going to stop there and see if anyone has questions, because I can always go into more, but I'm just going to see if anyone has any questions on what I've said so far. Does it make sense? No. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. You mentioned mostly communicating with family and friends, people you've known and loved and had a relationship with. What about when communication comes from someone who you've never met, maybe who died before you were born?
Nice. So is it, yes, that happens. You know what I'm doing? I'm using telepathic communication to go, what is her real question? I'm using, it's called empathic clair-pensée. Yeah, what is your real question?
Why does that happen? Why does somebody who you've never thought about talk to you?
So a couple different reasons. If it's a family member, yeah. So, but let me just say this. If it's a family member, it could be because there's influence that you can have in the family lineage. If it's someone that is not a family member, you can ask, why are you doing this? Now, a few things. This could go in a million directions. I've done ghost clearing because you hear me. It's what, you know, is what there's a feeling of, because you hear me, you can sense me, you can see me, and I want to tell you things. Sometimes it's because you promised to write this book, or you said that you would do this thing. And so we're here. Now, what I'm getting so there's 2 different things that happen. I actually see 3 behind you. Do you mind if I go here? Okay, great. I actually see 3 people around you, and one is your writer friend that's like, I have a story to tell. I have a story to tell. They're following you around. They're like, you're constantly thinking of this idea, and they're actually constantly telling you this idea, that we can do this together, it'll be so great, you're going to see how rewarding it'll be, this will go so smooth. And they're kind of like, if you just sit down and it will just pour out of you, and I would just want you to have that time to just go with it, you know? So that's that person. It's also because sometimes it's because it's a mission. I'm going to use that word, mission, that you are aligned with, or jacked about, or excited about, and you know. Now, interestingly enough, they're also saying because they can use some of what you know and infiltrate, so it's kind of a combined effort. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, good. Yeah.
Collaboration.
Yeah, collaboration. Yeah, and so it is. I think you should go for it because it really is. But so what I would do if it's somebody, if you're sitting in meditation, I often tell my students, when you're doing meditation and you want to get in touch with higher realms of spirit, ask to be connected to the highest being that's aligned with your truth that can come forward and give you assistance. Now, whether that's writing a book or being more efficient in your workspace or being a better parent to your children, we have so many resources that we can use. I do it all the time, people. It's a plethora. It's really, and it's fine. And then sometimes I say, what can I do for you? And they're like, you're doing it, you're doing it, you're doing it. Make the world a better place. Everybody be happy. So sometimes it's that you have access to this information because you also promised to do it in this lifetime. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I just want you, when you write it out, when you complete the process, you're going to go, oh, my whole life led up to this. Like it'll seal the deal in some way. That's me going, tell me more from them. But you could do that too. You could tune your attention to them and say, why? Why should I listen to you? So when you get communication from beings that aren't family or friends or people that you know, whether alive or animals, plants, talk to trees, birds, do it all. When you're getting from someone that you're not necessarily familiar with, you could just ask, is it for my highest good to connect with you? But here's the deal. I want you to know, you guys are like me. The second you think of someone, you're turning your attention to them and you have the ability to connect on this interpsychic rapport, this deeper level, this soulful level of like, remember what I said? What are they thinking? Do you know those games? I used to love those games, but I never played them because I'm not a voyeur. In restaurants where people would be like, let's guess what they do for a living. Let's guess what that couple's talking about and stuff like that. That might be a cool thing, but I wouldn't do that. But I just wouldn't. But it's the same thing. When they're accurate. It's because they're really tapped in and tuned in. Did that answer your question at all? Yeah. So sometimes it's because you can hear them and they're looking for anybody to do the task. But sometimes because a part of you is aligned with it. And it also could be that you have walked the planet with them in other incarnations. And so this is a part that's kind of your unfinished story as well. And so there's some parallels going on here, kind of stuff. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So there's that. Yeah?
Do you believe that, I know you talked about prior lives.
Yeah.
That two people could still be alive and not have met in this life and yet communicate?
Two people could still be alive in this life, not have met and communicate.
As if they were from another life?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know? Yeah. Totally. Yeah. That is there's a part of me that would still like to do the research because when you start, and I'm going to say this, like bending time and parallel lives, and it gets really trippy. So I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I want to, but it's what I've come across in my work, because I used to do hands-on work on people, and then I would be like, whoa, wait a second here. Your most recent past life wasn't chronologically in time. It was, just this whole experience. So yes, I totally, and when you're asking me and I'm asking my sources, they're like, absolutely. It's trippy, right?
Yeah.
But there's no time where, in the
Right.
space of soul, and that's what we're using.
Right.
Yeah. And this is telepathic communication, and also, that whole thing of sourcing information is our space in our ability to actually see and work on our future and look to our past and rearrange what occurred. There's so many ways I could take that, but yeah, thank you. Did someone else have a question? Yeah.
When you talked about how you prepared your husband to agree with you, why couldn't he have prepared you
To disagree?
agree with him?
He couldn't.
Is it who's stronger, or what's the...
No, I think it was because I was right. No, you're right. You're absolutely...
Of course you'd say.
I know, right? You are absolutely right. That is a brilliant question. You are absolutely right. And he could, and he could, and he could, and he could have.
But he doesn't.
You know what?
Or maybe he does.
Yeah, maybe he does. But sometimes when it's a big decision, like in the family or something, and I notice, because I'm always like paying attention, like when he'll say something and I'll be like, no, and then I'll think about it and I'll think, oh, he's right. But in those really pivotal family decisions where I bring something forward and I'm like, what? Why is he not getting it? I go high and go, is this for the overall good? Do I need to ask again, or how do I need to work on this? Because I try to be the best possible person and bring that into family decisions, especially in my relationship. I'm not always best at that, but in those pivotal times, I do say what is the overall kind of highest good here. But yeah, he most certainly could. I wonder if he's doing that.
All of them. Right?
Yeah.
Couldn't people use it
For ill wishes?
Satanly?
Yes, ill wishes, definitely. You could.
And how do you avoid that?
How do you avoid that is, I believe I'm divinely protected. I believe that we are all, I think that when we all have free will, and I'm trying to, it's tricky because there's mental illness and the tapping into those split, those spaces. So that's a tricky thing. But I think mostly, I think that there's more good to come of people connecting on a soul level than there is poor, because what's going to start happening is, and I'm going to be giving a talk in a few months, maybe it's in 2 talks from now or the next talk, about psychic and sensitive children, because they're the ones, like many of you in this room, knew what mom and dad were thinking when they didn't say it. And you knew when they were not happy with you and they didn't say it. You felt it. You knew it psychically. It's claircognizance. It was just a knowing. They didn't have to give you a foul look or anything. You just knew it. And so I believe in the long run, tuning into your soul awareness will actually make people kinder to each other. I have hope.
We hope.
Yeah. But love that you asked that, because there's times I put out in my flyers, if you use cannabis, please, I can't have you near me when I'm working, because I do a lot of my work empathically. We can get information psychically where we're looking at them and getting information, or we can join as one with them. When I join as one with, if someone's ingested cannabis in any form within 48 hours, I get a contact high. My friend Tara and I were on a steamship boat bus thingy, and a person sat down beside me to talk to her, and when she looked across us and I looked at her, and I was like, oh, shoot, I'm high. I was high immediately. And I don't remember if it was during the bus ride or after the person had left, and I was like, oh man, and all of a sudden my body convulsed like the... And she was like, my friend was like, what happened? And I was like, I just released some crud I picked up off her. So we can definitely, that's the other part, is we can definitely pick up stuff when we are tapped in. But mostly it's that noticing, I'm feeling off, something's wrong. I immediately got a stomach ache. I immediately felt high, and I was like, oh, crud, I should have put up my barrier, because I know how sensitive I am, and I needed to really, crystal earrings, whatever it takes.
And does that happen with heroin, alcohol, amphetamines, and other things?
No, it's my kryptonite.
So that's just your...
Yeah, it's my kryptonite. I don't know what it is. Because even people on the other side, when I say, how did you pass, and I experience their drug overdose as part of giving the telling of the story, I am fine. And I just, for some reason, it's my kryptonite. Yeah, I buckle. And then I pick up whatever, and then I have to release it. But I think that's the thing, is that knowing who you are and knowing what you need to do for yourself in those experiences. Great questions. Anyone? Yeah.
You talked a little bit about practicing this, but do you have to get your energy level to a certain level?
No. think so. So I remember sitting with a group of people that wanted to connect with the angelic realm. And so I was like, okay, let's go. Let's just tune in. It's just intention. Whew. And they were like, we have to go through the chakras. And I was like, what? Okay. Going through the chakras. Are we done going through? Okay, going through the chakras, opening the chakras. Are we done opening the chakras? And it was their method. It wasn't my method. So you find your method. You find your method. Now, I will say this. When I chills, full body chills. When I do tap into higher realms of spirit beyond astral, which is where loved ones that have crossed and guides are, when I do tap into higher realms, I do tend to close my eyes and give them undivided attention. But it's just with the intention of going there. And then I get swooned and caught up in the energy of it all. You know, I just make space for that sacred space. But I don't, you know, sometimes when my friend and I work, we light a candle and say an intentional prayer of being surrounded, like we did before this, that, you know, hearts are open and it's whatever comes to us for everybody's highest good. It's intention. What's the intention? Yeah, but yeah, no.
Thank you.
Yeah, what works for you is what's important. So before and after sessions, I would cleanse and clear because I was constantly, but I would always send the crud up. I'd ask an angel to take it. You know, just can you take this as I'm cleansing it off their energy body? And so, and I've walked into spaces where people haven't cleared and I'm like, what's happening here? So it's noticing. Something's wrong. What do I do? What do I do? We don't have to have the answers. We can source the answers. And with telepathic communication, find the answer. You know? Yeah.
What's an angel?
That's a great question. Sometimes I think it's, what do you think an angel is? From my perspective, and my thing is that they're messengers of God, and also higher, they're reflections of divine light. I believe in God because I've worked with this kind of energy, and my sadness is when people stop at mediumship and don't go to higher. And so I believe we have guardian angels and angels that work with us and our families, and they work with the greater good on the planet. But I always see them as beings of light. When I've asked, do you have form? They say they can take form. I've prayed to various angels for various reasons. You know, the whole thing of like, Archangel Raphael as traveler totally works for me. Whenever I'm like trying to run for a plane, my sister and I were running from Morocco, running for the plane and going, Raphael, you gotta help. And then next thing we know, someone leans out and goes, are you Constance and your sister? You're late for the plane, but we're holding it. And we're like, thank you. You know, so what is an angel? Yeah, for me, it's the vibration for them is so different. When I talk to my dad or a guide or a spirit that's coming to help with my work to kind of train me up or work through the spaces or whatever, you know, as many of us there are. I mean, there's just so many sources of help. It's very grounded. I see them. It's definitely like seeing each of you. But when I've worked with angelic light, I'll give you a brief example. I was in New York City. My friend and I were there to teach a class on to a bunch of chiropractors. And we got done with the class. We were so exhausted. We're sitting in our friend's space, and I was like, whoa, Stephanie, to my friend, somebody's coming around. I feel someone's around. I always feel it as an energy shift in the room and a pressure, kind of like cabin pressure or something coming in from one side. And I was like, whoa, somebody's here, hold on. And because I trust, I'm like, plus it would have felt icky if it was not something I wanted to talk to. So I turned my attention, and it was this fluttery energy. I said, Stephanie, I think it's an angel. And she's like, what does it have to say? And I said, I don't know, but let me just tune in and and then I shared space with it. And the angel said, you too, it was this high voice. And it was just like this, we help you do these classes because we were teaching the chiropractors to tune in to the energy imbalances and why that might hold someone in pain and chronic pain longer if there's an energy imbalance, not just a structural. And the angel said, we work with people like you to do teachings of greater awareness on the planet, and there's a problem, and we're like, what? And there's this other class we were supposed to do, and the angel, we were like, yeah, right, we're going to do it. And the angel said, no, your heart and your head have to be in alignment. Your heart is not in the next class. Your head is like, yep, we'll do it because we promised we'd go to Connecticut, we promised we'd do it, but your heart is not wanting to do it. Angels can only work with us when our heart and our head is in alignment, and then we can get the wish that we want, really, in essence. Like if we believe it, if we feel it, it's for the good. And so we were like, okay. So the angel left. We said, thank you. The angel left. That was one of a few times that I've worked with an angel, which was just this higher, loftier, yummier, lovier place than, Dad loves me, so I know that, but it's just different. He's more concrete. And I turned to my friend and I said, wow, we have a decision to make. And she said, I don't want to do the class. I said, I don't either. We're exhausted. Do you know within an hour we got a call that the class had to cancel because they didn't have enough people showing up? We were like, thank you. Thank you. So they're helpers from God. I do believe that. And they're messengers. That's what I feel they are. But I've always said that guardian angel prayer. Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom God love commits me here, ever this day be at my side, to light, to guard, to rule and guide. And I believe that. So I pull in. I'm like, help guard me, man. I'm going into some, tricky spaces. And I feel protected. It's when I let my guard down that I'm not, that I pick up other stuff. But I think sometimes I'm a transfer station of whatever. Does anyone else have did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very chatty. Does anyone else have a question? So the tools of the communication techniques are all those clairs that you've heard before. Clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsensation. I break it down because I'm just really a nerd that way. I like to know when people are having experiences, did you feel it as a physical feeling? Like, was it a tingling or a warmth, or was it cold? Was the connection cold? Maybe you made up that part of the conversation if it got cold. But if it was warm and you were weeping, then there's something there. What was the emotional content of the experience? Did it make you sad, the connection, because it's a sad thing, Or are you elated? Or is it, a conversation you don't want to have? You can certainly say, I don't want to have this conversation right now, I'm not ready for it. I ask people, did you hear it? How did you hear it? Did you get a vision? Was it in your mind's eye or was it in the third dimension? I've had both. Much like you can all imagine me holding a cup of coffee in my hand. That's how it happens. It's just really fleeting. It's just can be fleeting. It can happen in dream time connection. You can smell from what they used to bake or cook. Walk in your house and roses and you're like, whoa, who's here? You can have certain tastes come and go in your mouth. And you're like, whoa, wait a second. It's stopping. It's taking the time to stop, pay attention, and notice. Notice. And then where is that coming from? And I always ask, when I do my work or I start my work, or even this before today, I asked to be connected to the highest being, to the highest truth that can come forward and help me in this work. And I wrap everyone in light so that they get something from it. And if not today, that they carry it forward so that it can help to transform them to a happier, healthier, lighter life. And so I just want to leave you with the thought that we are, body and soul. And there's a lot of ways to consider soul information and soul ability. I thank you so much for coming. I do invite and ask you, there's cards in the back of the room that you can tear in half, and it has information for the podcast, the YouTube channel, for the teachings, the website, and then also a place if you want to join the mailing list or have any further questions or comments in regards to this. My friend Tara is in the back if you need that. I really, really thank you for coming. There's going to be a talk every month here at the West Tisbury Library. Again, I have helped countless people, and I have been so moved by being able to do this work. But I know we can all do this. It is not a gift. If I leave you with anything, please believe me, it is not a gift. It is a skill, like a language, like those coded letters. Once you unravel it, once you spend time with it, your whole world will change, I promise you, and it will be better, I promise you. And when you're ever stuck, just say, help me. go high, help me. What do I need to know in this moment? What do I need to know in this moment? Go high, but I am no different than you. I am no different than you. Thank you.